What if crane disasters are not random accidents? What if there is a pattern hiding in plain sight? In the past decade, over 40 major crane collapses killed hundreds of workers and caused billions in damage. Official investigations called them isolated incidents. Tragic, yes, but unconnected. That is what we were told. But when we analyzed the public records, corporate filings, and forensic reports from 12 of the deadliest collapses, we found connections that demand answers. Patterns that suggest something deeper than negligence. Questions that the construction industry does not want asked. This is not a proven conspiracy. We do not have insider access or subpoena power. But we do have public documents, court filings, and pattern analysis. What we found shocked us. It should concern anyone who drives under a crane, works near construction sites, or wonders why these disasters keep happening despite all our modern engineering knowledge. We are going to show you the patterns. You decide what they mean. But first, a disclaimer. This investigation presents analysis of publicly available information. We are asking questions based on documented evidence. We cannot prove coordination without insider testimony. What you are about to see are patterns that raise serious concerns. Judge the evidence for yourself. Let's start with the disasters themselves. July 14, 1999, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A massive Lampson LTL-1500 transilift crawler crane, known as Big Blue, collapsed during construction of Miller Park Baseball Stadium. This heavy-lift crane, designed to handle 1,500 short tons, was one of the largest mobile cranes in the world. 3 ironworkers died instantly as the crane, weighing over 2,000 tons, crumpled like aluminum foil in front of horrified witnesses. An OSHA inspector happened to be filming safety compliance that day. He caught the entire collapse on video. The footage shows the crane buckling in seconds as wind gusts exceeded safe operating limits. November 27, 2013, Sao Paulo, Brazil. An enormous Liebherr LR 11,350 crawler crane collapsed at Arena Corinthians Stadium, built for the 2014 FIFA World Cup. The collapse was catastrophic. The crane was lifting a 500-ton roof section when catastrophic failure occurred. 2 workers, Fabio Luis Pereira and Ronaldo Oliveira dos Santos, fell to their deaths as steel cables snapped and the boom crashed through the partially completed stadium. Brazil was racing to meet FIFA's deadline. The project ran 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week. Union safety inspectors had warned about problems with the soil conditions. Their warnings went ignored. June 15, 2025. Singapore's Tuas Mega Port. A brand new SANY ship-to-shore container crane, one of the world's largest, tipped over during delivery. The massive crane, worth tens of millions, toppled before it even entered service. Miraculously, no one died. But the incident shut down operations at one of Asia's busiest ports. Initial reports blamed improper weight distribution during transport. But deeper questions emerged. Why did safety checks fail to catch the imbalance? Who approved the delivery method? These are just 3 examples. We analyzed 12 major collapses spanning 10 years across 8 countries. Each official investigation concluded the same thing. Isolated incident, unfortunate accident, lessons learned, case closed. But when you lay them side by side, patterns emerge that official reports never address. Here is what makes these disasters more than accidents. In nearly every case we examined, someone warned about danger before the collapse. And in nearly every case, those warnings were ignored, dismissed, or actively suppressed. Big Blue in Milwaukee. The crane operator William DeGrave walked off the job the day before the collapse. He refused to work in high winds that exceeded the crane's safety specifications. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, which contracted Lampson for the crane, threatened to withhold payment if there were delays. DeGrave was replaced by another operator. The next day, with winds gusting at 30 miles per hour, Big Blue collapsed. 3 men died. DeGrave's concerns were documented. His employer knew. Mitsubishi knew. The crane lifted anyway. Brazil's World Cup disaster. Union representatives filed formal complaints about soil saturation at the construction site. Heavy rains had waterlogged the ground where crane supports were anchored. Engineers warned that foundation stability was compromised. FIFA's deadline was non-negotiable. The World Cup opening ceremony was scheduled. Political pressure was immense. Brazil's president personally visited the site, urging faster progress. The warnings were overruled. The crane lifted. The foundation failed. 2 men died. This pattern appears again and again in Singapore, Malaysia, New York, and Seattle. In case after case, someone knew there was danger. Someone spoke up, and someone in authority decided the risk was acceptable. Why? What makes a deadline more important than a life? What pressure exists that makes ignoring safety warnings routine rather than exceptional? We can't answer these questions with certainty, but we can show you what happens after these disasters. And that's where the pattern becomes even more disturbing. When a crane collapses, the immediate aftermath is chaos. Emergency response, investigations, victim compensation. But then comes the rebuild. The damaged structure must be repaired. New cranes must be installed. Work must resume. And here's where our analysis found something unexpected. In several cases, we examined companies connected to the original construction appeared in discussions about rebuild contracts. We cannot prove this happened in every case. Corporate structures are complex. Subsidiaries, joint ventures, and shell companies make direct connections difficult to trace. But public contract databases show a pattern worth investigating. In the Big Blue collapse, Lampson International owned the failed crane. The subsequent litigation resulted in a $30 million settlement. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries paid 97%. Lampson paid just 3%. But here is the question. When specialized heavy lifting work is needed, who has the expertise? Often the same firms involved in major projects. The very companies with experience in disasters often possess the unique capabilities needed for complex recovery work. Is this evidence of conspiracy? No. Could it be pure coincidence that specialized firms appear in both construction and reconstruction? Possibly, but it raises a question about incentive structures. If a company faces minimal liability for failure but possesses specialized skills for recovery, what is their financial incentive to prevent disaster versus profit from recovery? This is not an accusation. It is a question that deserves investigation. If these patterns concern you, support our research. Like this video and subscribe to Construction Legends. Your engagement shows the algorithm that more people need to see these questions. Now let us look at proven conspiracy in the construction industry. Everything we have shown you so far might sound like speculation, pattern recognition without proof. But here is what is not speculation. Construction industry bid rigging is real, proven, and prosecuted. In March 2023, 10 construction firms in the United Kingdom were fined nearly £60 million by the Competition and Markets Authority for systematic bid rigging. This was not theory. It was not pattern analysis. It was a documented conspiracy involving false invoices, cover bidding, and market allocation agreements. Here is how the scheme worked. Companies that were supposed to be competitors secretly coordinated. When projects went out for bid, they decided in advance who would win. The designated winner submitted a competitive bid, and the other companies submitted cover bids, intentionally high bids designed to lose. This created the illusion of competition, while guaranteeing predetermined outcomes. The companies rotated who would win contracts. They divided territories and agreed not to genuinely compete in each other's regions. They hid the conspiracy with false paperwork. Invoices were created to justify payments between companies, and to outside observers it looked legitimate. The United Kingdom case involved building maintenance contracts worth millions of pounds. But the template for this kind of collusion exists. It has been proven in court. Companies do coordinate when they are supposed to compete. The question we are asking is this: if bid rigging happens in relatively small maintenance contracts, could it happen in multi-billion-dollar infrastructure projects? We do not know. We cannot prove it. But the template exists. The incentive exists, and the complexity of mega projects provides cover that small contracts do not offer. There is another pattern that appears in nearly every disaster we studied: impossible deadlines. The World Cup in Brazil, the Olympics in various host cities, the baseball stadium in Milwaukee, major infrastructure projects tied to immovable political or commercial deadlines. When FIFA announces the World Cup opening ceremony, there is no postponement. When a city promises a new stadium by opening day, there is no flexibility. These deadlines create what aviation investigators call Kigyo fever, the psychological pressure to proceed despite warning signs, to take risks that would be unacceptable under normal circumstances. Here are the numbers from Brazil's World Cup construction. 8 workers died across all stadium construction sites in Brazil. Compare that to South Africa's World Cup 4 years earlier, with 2 deaths, and Germany in 2006, with 0 deaths. Brazil's rush to meet FIFA's deadline created a safety crisis. The government relaxed labor regulations to allow longer shifts and weekend work. Union protections were suspended, and safety inspections were expedited. The message was clear. The deadline mattered more than the details. We see this pattern globally. Singapore's port expansion faced commercial pressure to handle increasing shipping volume. Seattle's construction boom created pressure to build faster. New York's real estate market demands speed. Every delay costs money, and every safety pause affects profitability. The rational response would be to build realistic timelines that account for safety protocols. But that is not what happens. Projects are bid with aggressive schedules, and contractors promise completion dates to win contracts. Then reality collides with ambition, and workers pay the price. When disaster strikes, something fascinating happens. Everyone blames someone else. The crane owner blames the general contractor. The general contractor blames the engineer. The engineer blames the crane operator. The operator blames the weather. This isn't unique to construction. It's human nature. But in the construction industry, corporate structures make accountability nearly impossible. Let's look at Big Blue again. Lampson International owned the crane. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries hired Lampson. Mitsubishi was contracted by the Stadium Authority. The Stadium Authority was funded by public bonds. When the dust settled, literally, determining legal liability took years. The final settlement had Mitsubishi paying 97% and Lampson paying 3%. But both companies continued operating. Both continued bidding on major projects. The financial penalty was significant, but not existential. 3 men died. Their families received compensation. But the system that created the conditions for their deaths remained intact. Here's where corporate structure matters. Many major construction firms operate through complex networks of subsidiaries and special-purpose vehicles. A parent company might own dozens of regional entities. When one entity faces liability, it can be isolated. Bankruptcy protections shield the parent. This is legal. It's standard corporate practice, but it creates a moral hazard. If the worst consequence of catastrophic failure is that one subsidiary absorbs liability while the parent corporation continues, what incentive exists to prevent failure? Insurance covers most damages. Subsidiaries can be restructured or dissolved. The brand might take reputational damage. But the fundamental business continues. We're not suggesting companies deliberately structure themselves to enable negligence. But we are asking whether the current liability framework provides sufficient deterrent. If a company can absorb the cost of disaster, factor it into their risk calculations, and continue operating profitably, is the penalty meaningful? When the Occupational Safety and Health Administration fined companies involved in Big Blue a total of $539,000, the stadium project was worth $400 million. The fine was 0.13% of the project value. Is that a deterrent or a cost of doing business? If you want more deep investigations like this, subscribe to Construction Legends and hit the bell icon. Comment below which disaster cases we should investigate next. Here's an uncomfortable truth. The people who regulate construction safety often end up working for the companies they regulated. This isn't illegal. It's called the revolving door. A government inspector spends years reviewing crane safety for a regulatory agency. They earn a modest public sector salary. They develop expertise in crane engineering, safety protocols, and compliance requirements. They also develop relationships with industry representatives. Then one day, a construction company offers them a job. Safety consultant, compliance director, government relations. The salary is triple or quadruple their government pay. They accept. This is legal. It happens constantly. Why does it matter? Because incentives shape behavior. If you're a safety inspector who knows that your future employment prospects depend on maintaining good relationships with the companies you regulate, how aggressive will your inspections be? Will you flag every minor violation, knowing it might damage a relationship with a potential future employer? Or will you focus on egregious violations while giving companies benefit of the doubt on borderline issues? We can't read minds. We don't know individual motivations. But we do know that structural incentives matter. Research from academic institutions has documented this pattern across multiple industries. Regulators who later join regulated industries tend to be more lenient during their government service. This is not necessarily corruption. It might be unconscious bias, or professional courtesy among experts, or genuine disagreement about where to draw regulatory lines. But the effect is the same. The revolving door creates relationships that blur the line between regulator and regulated. In the UK bid rigging case, one element that enabled the conspiracy was that investigators initially did not believe major firms would risk their reputations on illegal coordination. That assumption of good faith delayed investigation. When whistleblowers finally came forward with documentary evidence, the scale of coordination shocked regulators. The conspiracy had operated for years because authorities assumed major firms would not collude. That assumption was wrong, and it protected the conspiracy until evidence became overwhelming. Here is something that puzzled us during this investigation. When major disasters occur with clear evidence of negligence, insurance companies pay out massive claims quickly. Consider 3 high-profile examples. The Singapore port crane collapse, where insurance paid for the crane replacement. The Brazil World Cup disaster, where insurance covered the reconstruction. And Big Blue in Milwaukee, a $30 million settlement paid primarily by insurers. Those payouts often happen within months, or sometimes weeks. The money moves fast. Contrast that with how insurance companies treat individual claims. Homeowners fight for months over storm damage. Car accident victims battle for fair compensation. Medical claims get denied and appealed repeatedly. But when a multi-million-dollar crane collapses with documented safety violations, the money flows quickly and accountability can be diffused. Why? One possibility is that insurance companies want to avoid lengthy litigation. Settling quickly prevents discovery process that might expose industry-wide problems. Another possibility is that insurance companies have calculated that fighting these claims costs more than paying them. Legal fees for years of litigation might exceed the settlement value. A third possibility, and this is where pattern analysis gets interesting, is that insurance companies have financial interests aligned with construction companies in ways that are not immediately obvious. Insurance companies invest their reserves. They buy stocks and bonds. Could they own stakes in construction firms they insure? It is legal. It happens in other industries. We do not have evidence of specific conflicts in the crane cases we studied, but the question is worth asking. Part 2 of this investigation will examine insurance industry practices in depth. We have filed Freedom of Information requests for settlement details in multiple jurisdictions. Some have been granted, others remain pending. What we have seen so far suggests that the relationship between insurers and construction firms is more complex than the adversarial relationship you would expect. When both parties benefit from quick resolution and minimal public scrutiny, transparency suffers. And when transparency suffers, accountability becomes impossible. Part 2 about the insurance investigation drops next week. Subscribe to Construction Legends and turn on notifications so you do not miss it. So what does all this mean? Are we looking at coordinated conspiracy or systematic dysfunction? Honestly, we do not know. And that is the problem. Without investigative journalism that can compel testimony, without regulatory bodies with sufficient funding and independence, without political will to examine these patterns, we cannot know for certain. What we do know is this: crane disasters keep happening despite advanced engineering. Warnings get ignored before collapses occur. Deadline pressure overrides safety concerns. Liability is diffused through corporate structures. Regulators have career incentives to maintain industry relationships. Insurance companies pay massive claims without extensive investigation. And proven conspiracy exists in the construction industry. Each of these facts is documented. Each pattern appears across multiple cases. The question is whether these patterns represent independent problems or symptoms of deeper coordination. We have presented evidence. Now ask yourself, if you were designing a system to maximize profit while minimizing accountability for construction disasters, would it look different from what exists today? If this were coordination, what would the evidence look like? Would it differ significantly from the patterns we have shown? These are not rhetorical questions. They are genuine inquiries that deserve investigation by authorities with subpoena power, forensic accountants, and legal authority to compel disclosure. We are researchers presenting patterns. We need investigators to determine if those patterns indicate crimes. Until that happens, the questions remain, and so does the danger. Current construction projects worth billions are underway right now, using similar oversight structures and similar deadline pressures that created previous disasters. If the system is broken, more people will die. If there is coordination, it continues unchecked. Either way, the status quo is unacceptable. Check the video description for links to all public documents we referenced: corporate filings, court records, OSHA reports, Freedom of Information responses. Everything is sourced and verifiable. Do your own analysis. Draw your own conclusions. If you work in construction and have information about these patterns, contact investigative journalists. Whistleblower protections exist. The truth needs to come out. Part 2 examines the insurance industry's role in enabling this system. Subscribe to Construction Legends so you do not miss it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about the infrastructure that surrounds us and the workers who risk their lives building it. Stay safe.